Hi, I'm Cameron Sheets with Query. So excited to talk to you today, Luke. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really excited to get into this film, and I also just wanted to talk about the fact that like you are an actor who I feel like can and does do everything. I mean, we've seen you sing and dance, you do romance, you do comedy, but it's always really fun to see you in action mode. I'm curious to start. What is it about action movies that you love the most?
When I first did my first action film very early on, I never saw myself as that person. I didn't think that would be my trajectory in this business. But people do love me in action movies. It's just, I don't know. I guess I've done some very famous ones and people like it. I think people just accept me as these roles. They just get it. And I sort of just have to deliver. I enjoy them. I mean, they're fun. They're not easy. I mean, without fight sequences, it would be a much easier role because it requires a lot of rehearsal. You have to stay in shape. You have to stay supple. You have to, be precise and concise in what you do in a fight sequence. You have to be able to hit exactly the same mark over and over and over again. And that takes a lot of commitment. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge. I think physically, it's a different kind of energy and it's a different kind of physical commitment when you do something like this. I had to involve the character personality within the fights. And this character, John Lawler in Weekend in Tapei, I don't see why a character's personality has to stop to do a fight sequence and then come back to it. I think if you can, you should immerse that character's personality within the choices he makes in a fight, Luke and George, it was on the page. It wasn't just something we thought about on the day. It was already on the page where, you'd see this, John just turning around and then another five gangsters appear, and another five. And he's like, oh my God, I just want to get out of here, So there's a really well-drawn character there, He's got a past. He's slightly jaded with life. He's not a professional fighter, but, put him in a room with Taiwanese gangsters and he'll fight his way out of it. And I sort of love that about him. And he's relatable and there's a charm to him and he's funny as well, which I love the fact that the script really brought a bit of humor to these scenes, which is definitely something that drew me to it.
Another fun element of this film, another fun element to see you in is the fact that there's quite a few flashbacks and we get to see John Lawler 15 years prior. So I kind of wondered, I mean, what was the aging process, as we'll call it. What was that like for you? And is it surreal to be presented with this, 15 years younger version of yourself?
Oh, I mean, listen, I've had to surrender to the fact that I'm always going to be shown pictures of myself when I look younger, less wrinkly and less baggy. And unfortunately, my business just reminds you of what you used to be all the time. And so I just, it's never easy. You just remind yourself that everyone's growing old and I'm growing old. And, at 45, I've been doing this for 20 years almost, and you just get used to the fact of seeing your younger, fitter, prettier, less wrinkly self on screen and in pictures. But, I embrace who I am right now, my age, and I brought that. Luckily, John is my age. And so, there's a lot of me in him all the way through the story,
Well, I did think it was interesting just thinking about this and thinking about your career. I mean, in your life 15 years ago, you had already been working in theater, but 15 years ago, that was really when your film career was starting to take off. And you did some of these, this is when you first did some of these action movies that we sort of alluded to. If you could go back and give 2009, 15 years ago, Luke Evans, some career advice at that time, what would you say to him?
Well, I'm not sure. I think what he did or what I did 15 years ago was good. And my all I did was, this is an opportunity that you should take and just to try and enjoy it and embrace it and learn and discover new things about your talent and your craft and get better with every job and enjoy the journey. Life is a journey and you've got to really enjoy it. I mean, otherwise, what's the point? So I think he did all right. I think 2009 Luke was I think he managed it quite well, considering I was dropped in at the deep end with no sort of prior experience of film work or doing stunts or riding a horse or holding a sword. I'd never done any of those things, and I just looked at it as an opportunity to learn something new and we live in a world of make-believe. I live in a world of make-believe. That's what I do every day of my life. I'm in somebody else's skin, telling somebody else's story. And often it's a story that people know or have read the book and it's an adaptation, or it's really exciting. It's also a huge responsibility, and I'm here to entertain. I mean, I'm an entertainer, and this film very much allowed me to bring not just a leading man storyline, but also a man with charm and humor and relatability. I think that's really important. And I think it comes across in bucket loads with this story.
It does. Yeah. I was going to say, clearly younger you doesn't need that advice. Like you've always, brought this joy to your work, and it's so fun. It's so apparent on the screen. I also wanted to mention that you were on location, of course, in Taiwan, in Taipei, to film this, and it seems you got to like really explore Taipei while you were there too. And I wondered, were you surprised by the city or the culture in any way?
Surprised, no. Very happy to be there. Yes, we were welcomed very graciously by all the Taiwanese people we worked with. The crew was incredible. The team behind the Taiwanese side of it were just lovely. I think one of the wonderful gifts of my job is that I do go to places around the world which I possibly wouldn't have thought about going to, and then I get to spend months in these places. You sort of exist as all I know. My life becomes that, and Taipei was my home for almost 3 months. We loved it. We would spend our days off doing trips and going to see the famous sites and eat all the special dishes that Taiwanese food culture has, and I think it's wonderful because I get to tell my stories of these places through my experiences, and a lot of people may never have thought about Taipei or have seen Taipei, and this movie, projects Taipei at its best, and you see the city and the high rises and the streets and the little back alleys and the coast, and it's wonderful, and it was lovely. I really, it's the part of my job that I love the most.
I was looking at your Instagram posts from when you were there to see all the spots you went to write those down. I did notice you did a little karaoke while you were there.
Yes, well, that is a big thing in Taipei, karaoke. It's not just like a little dive room where there's a TV screen and a terrible speaker. They do it like proper, huge screens, amazing sound, a chef cooking dinner while you eat. I mean, it really is quite something. And many nights we went to karaoke. Wyatt, who plays my son Raymond, has an incredible voice, beautiful voice. So we and his mum and dad and his sister, we all would do karaoke. That was our thing. Yeah.
Well, Luke, I have to wrap there, but I'm so grateful for the time. It was so nice to chat with you. Congrats on Weekend in Taipei. It's really, really fun. So